Welcome to True Stories Night. I'm Lamide Akintobi. On True Stories Night, we take real stories as told on Classic Moments with Mo and see how they apply to life today. On tonight's episode, we're talking healthy eating and healthy living. These days, healthy living is very in. From running on the Lekki Ikoyi Bridge here in Lagos to juicing, meal plans and personal trainers, we can't seem to get enough. Let's hear what the experts had to say on this classic episode.
Healthy eating basically means, to me, what you eat, when you eat, and what amount, what quantity you eat. And it cuts across different age stratas. Like I always tell people that it has to do with individuals. For instance, a young child will require a different kind of food group to sustain his, because he's very highly energetic, to sustain his energy level, his energy expenditure, compared to maybe a secretary in an office that is sedentary, that doesn't need to expend a lot of energy, compared to an elderly person that, in fact, in their own case, they just basically need protein for regeneration and repairs. They don't do much, they don't do nothing, basically. So when you are looking at healthy eating,
it really depends, as you've said, on what age and where you are and what you're doing as well.
Yes, and it also requires people to be well informed, because for every individual, once you know that this is who I am, what I do, and all of those factors, then it helps you, it primes you.
Despite a surge of nutritional trends and eating habits in recent years, most nutritionists still say a balanced diet must consist of the 5 food groups: carbohydrates, protein, milk, vegetables and fruit, and fat. Research claims that diets consisting of vegetables, lean meats, fish, beans, eggs, and nuts, all of which are low in saturated fat, cholesterol, salt, and added sugar, are best to maintain a healthy lifestyle. The World Health Organization suggests at least 5 portions of fruits and veg a day. In addition to all this, getting adequate rest and being physically active will help keep your body in good physical condition. After the break, weight loss and weight gain stories. I have with me here Isiaha Bolaji-Olojo, who's a food and fitness coach, and she's gone through similar experience and is here to share her story. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.
So yes, tell us your own story.
Okay, so almost every girl has a weight loss story or the weight story anyways. Yeah. So I got pregnant, I had my baby. Yes, you know how you add baby weight, which is okay. But most of my weight came after I had the baby, when I was breastfeeding. And you know how we are now, breastfeeding moms, we stay at home, we're like this long maternity leave, so we're like eating. And you know in Nigeria, when your mama comes around, you're gonna eat, girl. Yeah. So I was eating, and bam, I hit 106 kg. I remember I just came back, and I was at the airport, I looked at the mirror, I'm like, girl, what happened? I just started crying there, like, oh my gosh. No dresses were fitting, I didn't have dresses to wear to church, I had quit work, so it was like, it just looked like I became that classic, have your baby, get fat, and also it was almost, I won't say depression, because I think depression is a bit too much, but I was sad, like I was really sad. And you know how people laugh at you, they're like, oh my gosh, what happened? You know in Nigeria, we greet with, you've added weight.
Yes.
And they were not short, they were always telling me that, and I'm like, girl, let's do something about this. And then in like 4 months, under 4 months, I lost 30 kg because I was going to kill myself to lose weight. So, and it was all healthy stuff, like there were no drugs, no pills, guys. It was just working out and totally cleaning up my diet. I got a coach. I got 2 actually because I was very serious. And I lost the weight. It was pretty fast. And I was documenting my journey all the way. I was always putting pictures up on Instagram of my meals, my workouts. So people kind of saw me transform. There was no magic. Yeah. They saw me do that. And then here am I, as fate and God would have it, I started a business from it, and then it has been amazing, totally.
Oh, that's really great. So what was your, before baby weight, what was your sort of starting range, and then after you decided to go on this journey, what was the end result? Well, although it's a work in progress, isn't it?
It's always a work in progress. Yeah. Before I got pregnant, I was about 75. I'm pretty tall, so I'm one of those who weigh. And then after I added all the weight, I got to 106. And then I went right back to 75, 74, 75. So that was it.
And the food and fitness coaching is definitely something that a lot of people have been sort of going into knowing that they need help to, you know, to make sure that their own weight loss stories are successful. So how have you found that sort of transition from just somebody who did it herself to somebody who's now assisting others to do that?
The beautiful thing about doing that is that you have a personal story. It happened to you, so you kind of have a heart for it. You pity people. I mean, and the journey is hard. Some of us, I mean, it was very hard for me, but I had the, like, I'm doing this, but some people start, they stop, they start. I know that it's hard, so that empathy is one thing that I bring into my business, because I know, like, you have to keep encouraging people. They would fall off the bandwagon. They would say you're mean, but it's all for good, because at the end of the day, when they get their testimonies, and there are lots of testimonies, health related, like people come to me because they want to lose weight, then they get pregnant. And they've not had babies, they've not had a baby before, they've had health challenges. People have asthma and then it's gone. People have different issues and then it's gone. Skin issues that they've tried different things for. You've taken drugs, because sometimes all you need to do is clean up from within, and you start to see results on the outside. So beyond even weight loss, there are other testimonies that come, and more than anything, self-esteem is boosted. So I understand all of that. I mean, people who have, of course, chicks who deal with things like menstrual pain, you have them share testimonies with me of how they cannot feel it anymore. So these things really make me happy. But I think what really sets me apart is the empathy I bring in, because I went through it. So it's not just theory. There's a lot of practical. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of knowledge sharing too, because I want you to maintain the weight that you have lost.
Excellent. Well, thank you so very much.
Thank you too.
All right. Okay, well, we'll be right back with another guest to talk about healthy living trends and whether or not we're damaging our bodies unknowingly. Stay with us. So here with me now is Ayo Elizabeth Olagun, who is a certified nutritionist, and she runs a website and a YouTube channel called Eat Right Africa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so why so passionate about nutrition?
I studied nutrition for 5 years at the University of Vienna before I went into fashion, so it was a very thorough program. I used to think that I was going to go into public health. I'm very passionate about health. So instead of just not doing anything with the information and the knowledge I have, I thought I'll just start a YouTube channel, because, you know, let people have the information and, you know, just share the knowledge I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
We just heard, you know, from the soundbite, how people preserve their own nutrients when they cook, things like yams, plantain, potatoes. Do you agree with the way that is done, and what are some other things that people can do here in Africa to preserve, you know, the nutrients in their food?
First of all, I'll say things that are carbohydrates, because everything you've mentioned, like yam, plantains, and potatoes, the nutrients are not, they're so minuscule, it's so micro, like really so micro that whether you cook it with the skin or without the skin, you don't really lose much. But when you talk about things like greens, like vegetables, then it makes a lot of sense, because the nutrients are more heat sensitive. So for example, if you cook ugu or efotete, any of the green leaves, if you don't cook it at all, it's the best. So I mean, just soak it in hot water, boil water, soak it in hot water, and then just put it in the stew that you've made. And the greener it is, the better. So all that cooking and cooking it and cooking it and cooking it, it's dead. It's like super dead. Wow. So yeah, those are foods that are more sensitive to heat, rather than the carbs that have like thick skin and are majorly just sugars anyway. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So in your opinion, having studied nutrition and, you know, elsewhere, and being an African and living in Africa, cooking in Africa, what do you think about how the idea of healthy cooking and healthy eating and healthy living has changed over time?
Oh, I think we have a really, really long way to go, because what I've noticed is that right now it's just still a topic for people who are maybe upper middle class or middle class. When you look at the society, the mass of the society, they still don't get it. So there's still a lot of work to be done, because if you talk about people who are maybe just in lifestyle and entertainment, and they want to look good, and, you know, they want to look like the, you know, celebrities in the Western world, it's a different thing entirely. But what worries me is how to get the information to people who are really the mass. And, you know, honestly, not much has changed, because people still think that if they sit in traffic and buy 2 packs of chips, of plantain chips, that they didn't eat anything. And that's 1,000 kilocalories. You did eat, you just ate 1,000 kilocalories. So you can't continue to disregard food as food. People just say, no, it's not food. I had 2 cups of moi moi, but I've not eaten. I just drank Gary, but I've not eaten. So like there's still a lot to be done, honestly, you know, understanding really what is food and the fact that it gives you energy. And if it gives you energy, at the end of the day, you overeat. So if you're overweight and you think you're not eating, then something is wrong, because you actually are eating. Because most overweight people always try to defend how they're not eating, but then they don't mention how many times they snacked in the day. And, you know, so there's still quite a lot to be done. Like, people really have to understand and, you know, come to really acknowledge food, you know, in the real sense, and not just disregard it because you ate it on the go or you ate it in traffic and it was just the yogurt, it was just the cola here and there. Yeah.
So how do you suggest that we then address that issue of the masses not really knowing much about nutrition and how to properly, you know, live well for a long life?
I think that would be really on a level of public health. The government would have to be interested in that and have to see that, okay, we need to take care of our communities, of our societies. So it's something that, yeah, you need the backing of the government to do that. Yeah, we need to really educate people in, you know, like go into societies and show them how things can be done. And, you know, I think that's how we could get that done, so that even if they don't have access to YouTube and they're people who do not watch TV or who don't have power, they still have information. And we can get that done if the government wants to do that with us.
All right, great. So Aya will still be here after the break, and we're going to talk about nutrition trends, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Stay with us. Welcome back. Aya is still here, and before we let her go, I want to talk about what's on trend when we talk about healthy living today. A lot of times it almost seems as if, oh, there's a new trend happening every day, you know, if it's not gluten-free, it's juicing, or everybody's doing keto and all that kind of stuff. Like, so what are the trends that you've observed in the past maybe year or so, and what are your thoughts on them?
Okay, I would say people have started to cook more with coconut oil.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think it's just another trend. It's so funny that something as serious as health would have things that are trendy as well, that we have things come in and then they go and they come. So I think coconut oil is one of them, and people are beginning to notice that they are lactose intolerant. They're looking for, almond milk and stuff like that. So, yeah. About the coconut oil thing, I think honestly, at the end of the day, it's all about moderation. Even if you cook with red oil, it's just as good. If you don't overdo it and you don't fry the oil till it turns black, red oil is just as good. It's actually a very good oil. Palm oil is really good. And whether it's palm oil or olive oil or coconut oil, I think it's just a preference and it's just the trend, and they're all good oils, literally.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So another trend that, you know, I notice has been quite sort of popular in the past few years is the juicing trend, and there's a lot of companies that have sprung up now that do cold pressed juices and things like that. What are your thoughts on that whole sort of aspect of healthy living? Something that we should take more as a daily or common thing, or is it like it really is just a trend and then use it to kick off some healthy living and then just move on?
I think beyond it just being a trend, it's absolutely fantastic, because it's just fruits and it's natural sugar and it's fresh. So you take the fruits, you press them, and you drink it. So I think it's not just a trend, but it's more than that. So it's definitely very healthy. It's something we should do if we can. The only thing that maybe is not as good as if you eat for example, I also have that in my cafe. We can make you freshly squeezed orange juice.
Okay.
Now, if you eat the oranges as it is, and you eat the inside, you eat the roughage, you eat the fiber, it's healthier. If you eat apples and you eat the skin, it's healthier than just pressing it. So at the end of the day, you could argue that it's actually healthier to eat the skin of most fruits. Apples, on the inside of the oranges, to actually really eat the skin on the inside is actually healthier. So, yeah, I mean, for fruits like watermelons and pineapples where you can't eat the skin anyway, it's a great thing. But if they're fruits that you can have more, you can eat more of the fruit than just the juice, then I think you should go for that.
Okay. So now I'm going to ask a question about fad diets. Okay. It seems there's almost a new fad diet every year that takes over the place. Somebody's okay, low carb, high protein, or the latest one that I've heard about is the keto
the keto diet, yeah.
The keto diet. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and then just talk about fad diets in general and how they work?
When I have a one-on-one consultation with someone regarding their diet and their nutrition, I always remind them that every human body functions differently. We all have different metabolisms. The best thing to do is to see what works for you, because it might work so well for you, it might work a bit different for me, it might work very differently for somebody else. And then in most cases, my fear with things that are like high protein or keto diets, that you take a lot of proteins, and it's a lot of work for your organs as well. So you have to be careful that your kidneys are good, that your liver is, you know, it can't be risky. So sometimes you can't just jump and follow the bandwagon and just do what everyone is doing. You have to say, okay, does it work for me? Sometimes you just have to change the times when you do it. Maybe consume more in the afternoon and not in the evening and morning. So there's a lot behind that you need all these huge physiological machines to test and to see how that particular human body responds to, you know, certain diets. So it has to work for you. It has to make you feel comfortable. You have to be seeing results. So it's not so advisable to just like, oh, everyone's doing it, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot.
Thank you for having me, Lamide.
All right. Food, nutrition, and healthy lifestyles are still hot topics now. While we have much more information now to educate ourselves, the basics remain the same. Eat lots of fruit and veg, move around more, and don't overdo it. See you next week.